I'm going to show you the magic circle. So here we go. This is the way I do it. I loop it around twice. So I have 3. I go under those 2 and I grab that third one, loop it up, and I go through just like that. And it creates a nice double loop. So now I have 2 loops that I'm working my round in. So for the granny, you'll be doing clusters of 3 and then a chain 2 and then clusters of 3. So that would be our 3 double crochets and then a chain 2. And we got to do 4 for 4 sides of the granny. That's 2. So chain 2. And now we do our third grouping. And I move my hands a lot when I crochet. I'm not a static crocheter, so I'm sorry if it goes in and out. So that would be, right, so we have 3 sides, right, and then these bases are our corners. And then we do our 4th side, and then I'll show you how to tighten it. So we have our 3rd cluster of double crochets, and we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to kind of stop, and then we're going to tighten this. So this is the way I tighten it. Kind of grab them all like that. So you got to find out which one is closer, because if you just start pulling like this, this loop will get tight, but this one will stay loose and it'll be really hard and you'll be pulling. So what I do is I move this tail just enough so I can see which one wants to go first, and then I grab that one and I start to tighten that second loop first all the way down nice and tight, and then I go back and take that tail and pull in that second loop, and it makes for no holes in the center of your granny squares. And then I'll go ahead, pull that tail to the back, and then slip stitch into that first one. And there you go. That's how you do it. And then if you don't know how to do a granny square, you would slip stitch to the next chain 2 space. You can chain 2, or if you want to be fancy like me, I'm really not that fancy, you could do a standing double crochet, which is awesome for granny squares because you can't tell. So gotta have to judge the height of your double crochet, so about like that, and you twist the hook behind. Let me show you that one more time. So you're like this, grab it with your thumb, and you twist it behind, so you're making it a little twist. You grab a hold of your yarn, you pull it behind, in front, and through. And there you go. So now we slip stitch into our next corner, and we will start again. So slip, slip. Now you can chain 2 and continue that way, or you can do a standing double crochet, which is what I like to do for my granny squares, especially so that you never see those chains. So what you do is you pull out your loop, so it's about the same height as your double crochets, doesn't have to be exact, and you kind of hold on to the top of that loop and you twist it around like that. Let me show you again. Hold on to it, you twist it behind, keeping your thumb that has that twist. Grab it, pull it from the back to the front, yarn over, and then kind of pinching the bottom here, go through both loops, and that gives you your V at the top of your stitch. So it looks just like a double crochet, yarn over, and you do 2 clusters of 3 for the corners. So you have 3, chain 2 for the corner. Sorry, my ball of yarn is getting a little crazy here. And then in that same corner, you're going to do 3 more. That way you can make a corner. Pull some yarn out, sorry. And 2 more. And then you can see that's your corner made. So your corners will have the chain 2 spaces, and then in between for your straightaways, I do no chains at all. I go from 1 double crochet to the next corner, and I chain 3. And that seems to give me less of a gap. So that's my cluster. So you can see that I don't do any chain in here. Some people do a chain 3 in the corner, and then they'll do a chain 1 in between. Just a slightly different look. I tend to like my pieces to be a little bit tighter. So then that's that corner. So you can see how the corners have a bigger gap because of that chain 2, and then the sides have none. And then we'll meet you back here in a second for the next step. Okay, so we are ready to connect to our standing double. Now, as you can see, our little V on the end here has kind of fallen open a little bit. So when I do my slip stitch, I'll be going through this front loop that I made, and then I'll be also wanting to go through the back loop. It's a little hard to see here. Takes a little bit, see, a little bit easier if I pinch it like that. So you'll be going through the front and the back, slipping through, so you're not double crocheting. And then you see, you cannot tell where you started. So then you slip stitch nice and loosely, so it's not too noticeable, to the next corner. There you go. Look at how you cannot tell where you went up at all. And then you do your next standing double crochet. Take it height, hold it there, twist it around, go from the back to the front, through 2 of them, giving you that first V. Okay, so now we are on our 3rd row. We've made our corner. We did our standing double crochet. We did 2 more doubles, 2 chains for the corner, 3 more double crochets. So it's, you can see the repetition. It's 3 double crochets for a cluster, and then we go on. So now we go do our next 3 double crochet cluster into the space between these 2. So we have a nice row across. So no chaining, just yarn over for another double crochet, and we do 3, and that will give us, make our side longer, because every time you go up you're adding another triple crochet, or triple 3 clustered double crochet. So now we've reached our other corner, so we have to do a corner, which is always going to be 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. My yarn ball's still trying to travel all over the place. Really need to get a yarn ball. So here it is. So you can see how you would just continue every time. So in the corners you'll be doing 2 clusters and a chain 2 in the center. Then across the side you'll be putting 1 cluster of 3 double crochets. So on the next row you'd be going into here, so you'd be doing a cluster of 3 double crochets into this space, and then a cluster of double crochets into this space. So you'll be adding 1. So on the first row we did just the corners. Second row, right, we just did the corners, but we added this space. Then the third row we added 1. So on the fourth row we'd be adding 2, and then the fifth row we'd be adding 3. And so I'm just kind of keep going here so you can see again. So we're on our next straightaway. So what happens to a lot of people is they kind of get zoned out, and they'll think they'll be in a corner, and then before you know it you've added another corner, and you've got an oddly shaped granny square, and then you just have to kind of pull it out, find where your corner is supposed to be, and make sure you only put a corner where the corner is supposed to be. So now we've got 2 sides. You can see how they match up. So if you really are unsure whether you're doing it correctly, just count how many clusters you have on each side. And if it all adds up the same, then you know you're doing it right. And if you end up with an extra cluster, then you know you did something incorrect, and you need to go back and find out where you went wrong. Here we go, we've reached our last center straightaway. And now we join to our standing doubles. So we're kind of pinch it together so you can see that V again, and go in through both loops like that, and just slip through. Then you got another row where you can't tell where you went up, and then just slip stitch to the corner, and you'll just continue along until you get to the next corner, and then you do your next standing double crochet. Go through the back to the front, through both, and then make another corner. 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 double crochets. And then now we have 2 clusters that we'll put along the straightaway before we do another corner. So no chaining, for my method anyway, for the way I do it. It's just double crochet, 3 doubles in each space,